the young and the restless spoilers. Cane Ashby had always been a man with shifting allegiances, a survivor in the corporate wars and personal vendettas of Genoa City. But no one could have predicted just how deep his manipulations would run or how devastating his latest secret could be. For months, he had observed from the shadows, watching Claire Newman settle into her new life with Kyle Abbott, watching Victoria tentatively accept her long-lost daughter into the fold, watching the Abbott and Newman families slowly, cautiously, open their hearts to her. On the surface, Claire's story had been one of redemption, of second chances, of a troubled young woman finally carving out a space where she belonged. But Cane saw through the surface. He knew something that no one else dared to imagine, something that could crack open the carefully constructed reality of not just Claire, but Victoria, Kyle, and everyone tied to them. Because Cane claimed to know the truth, Claire was not Victoria's real daughter at all. She was an imposter, living a life of privilege and affection that rightfully belonged to someone else. The true daughter of Victoria, Cane insisted, was alive but suffering in obscurity, consigned to hardship in another city while Claire basked in a false identity. And Cane, being who he was, had no intention of revealing this knowledge publicly just yet. Instead, he weaponized it, using the truth as leverage to control Claire, bending her to his will piece by piece. Claire had believed, perhaps naively, that her life had finally reached stability. Kyle's proposal had felt like a bomb after years of turmoil. She wore the engagement ring with pride, showing it off in quiet moments of joy, believing that she had earned this happiness after so many missteps. The future was finally hers to shape wedding plans, family dreams, and a chance to prove to everyone who had doubted her that she was more than her past. But Cane's intrusion ripped away that security in an instant. The first time he cornered her with his insinuations, she had laughed it off, trying to convince herself that it was just another one of his power plays. But the details he provided, timelines, the names, the whispers of where Victoria's true daughter lived were too precise to dismiss. Panic settled over her like a shroud. If Cane exposed her, everything she had built would crumble. Kyle's love would curdle into betrayal. Victoria's affection would be replaced with rage, and the rest of Genoa City would brand her a fraud. The cruelty of Cane's scheme lay in his refusal to simply reveal the truth. Instead, he made Claire live with it, twisting the knife by forcing her into complicity. He demanded favors, obedience, silence. Every time she tried to resist, he reminded her of what was at stake, painting vivid pictures of her downfall. And so Claire, desperate to protect the fragile happiness she had finally tasted, found herself obeying him in ways that left her hollow. She smiled in public, laughed at Kyle's jokes, planned her wedding with enthusiasm, but underneath, her heart raced with fear every time Cane appeared in a doorway or whispered her name. She knew she was living on borrowed time, that one day his threats would solidify into exposure, and there would be nothing left to shield her. What Claire did not know was that her secret had already begun to unravel. Victoria, ever the shrewd observer, had long sensed that something was amiss. She loved Claire, or at least she had convinced herself that she did, but there were moments, tiny, fleeting moments when doubt crept in. A turn of phrase, a hesitation, a story that didn't align perfectly with memory. She dismissed them at first, attributing them to her own paranoia or to the scars of the past. But when Victoria happened to pass by a door and overheard Cane speaking in hushed but urgent tones, every suspicion crystallized into horror. She froze in place as the words tumbled out, Cane's voice deliberate and unyielding as he detailed the truth of Claire's false identity, his knowledge of the real daughter's whereabouts, and his intent to keep Claire under his thumb until she served his purposes. Victoria's blood ran cold as she realized that the girl she had welcomed back into her arms might not be her flesh and blood at all, but a usurper living a lie. The shock was almost too much to process. For Victoria, family had always been both her greatest strength and her deepest wound. She had fought to protect her children, fought to earn her father's respect, fought to balance love and ambition in a world that punished women for wanting both. To hear that her supposed daughter was a fraud was not just a personal betrayal, it was an existential wound, threatening the very foundation of her identity as a mother. She staggered back from the doorway, her mind racing. Rage coursed through her, but so did sorrow, and above all, a relentless need for the truth. Was Cane telling the truth? Or was this another one of his elaborate manipulations? Could Claire possibly have orchestrated such a deception, or was she as much a victim as anyone else? The consequences of this revelation threatened to ripple across Genoa City with devastating force. Kyle, who had pledged his future to Claire, would feel the betrayal most intimately. He had defended her against doubts, stood by her when others whispered, and now he would be forced to confront the possibility that the woman he loved had built their entire relationship on a lie. His heart would be torn between the memories of their genuine moments together and the undeniable weight of the truth. Would he stand by her out of love, or would he cast her aside in disgust, unable to reconcile his devotion with the deception at its core? For Victoria, the choices ahead were equally harrowing. If she accepted Kane's claim, she would be forced to reckon with the existence of another daughter, a girl she had never met, but who had suffered while Claire thrived. The guilt of that alone was unbearable. Yet, if she dismissed Kane's words, she risked perpetuating the lie and allowing Claire to continue enjoying a life that was never truly hers. And then there was the question of Cane himself. Why had he kept this information to himself? What did he stand to gain? The more Victoria thought about it, the clearer it became. Cane was not motivated by justice or compassion. He was motivated by control, by power, by the thrill of manipulating the lives of others like pieces on a chessboard. As the days unfolded, the tension grew unbearable. Claire sensed that Victoria's demeanor had changed, that there was a new chill in her voice, a sharper edge to her gaze. Kyle, though still oblivious to the details, picked up on Claire's unease and pressed her for answers she could not give. And Cane, ever the puppet master, tightened his grip, reminding Claire at every turn that her silence was the only thing standing between her and total ruin. Yet the irony was that the more he tried to control her, the closer he pushed her toward collapse. Secrets, after all, have a way of surfacing, and in Genoa City, no lie remains buried forever. The eventual explosion of this secret promises to be catastrophic. If the truth comes out publicly, it will ignite a war between families, between lovers, between parents and children. The Newmans will demand justice for the years stolen from the real daughter, the Abbotts will question their ties to Claire, and Kyle will be forced into the most agonizing decision of his life. And at the center of it all, Cane will stand smirking, satisfied that he had once again proven his power. But power built on manipulation is always fleeting, and the storm he unleashes may ultimately consume him as well. For now, Genoa City waits with bated breath, watching as Claire's carefully constructed life teeters on the edge of collapse. Will Victoria confront her directly, demanding the truth? Will Kyle discover the secret before the wedding, shattering their plans in an instant? And will Kane's dangerous game finally backfire, exposing not only Claire, but himself in the process? The answers remain hidden in the shadows. But one thing is certain, the day of reckoning is coming, and when it does, no one in the Newman or Abbott families will escape unscathed. In Genoa City, secrets are currency, and Cane Ashby has just revealed that he may be holding the kind of secret capable of detonating entire families and destroying lives in the process. For Claire, who has finally begun to believe in the promise of a stable and happy future at Kyle Abbott's side, Kane's shadow looms like a specter determined to snatch away everything she has fought for. The cruel irony is that Claire thought her battle was over, had weathered Audra's schemes, proven herself to Victoria, and accepted Kyle's proposal as the ultimate sign that her past could no longer define her. But Kane's knowledge threatens to strip it all away, exposing her as something far more dangerous than a flawed woman with a checkered history. An imposter. According to Cane, Claire is not Victoria's real daughter, the woman who has been embraced by the Newman family, who has walked the halls of Newman Enterprises, who has begun to stitch herself into the fabric of Genoa City society, is living a lie. Cane insists that the true daughter of Victoria exists elsewhere, languishing in hardship, scraping by in obscurity, while Claire thrives on an identity that was never hers to claim. The accusation itself is monstrous, but the detail and conviction with which Cane presents it forces even Claire to feel the chill of recognition. He is not guessing, not speculating, and knows. He knows where the real daughter is, and worse still, he has no intention of restoring her to her rightful place. Instead, he dangles the information like a dagger over Claire's head, using it to control her, to bend her will, to ensure her silence and obedience. For Claire, This is a nightmare she cannot escape. The engagement ring on her finger, once a symbol of hope, now feels like a chain linking her to a future she might never deserve. Every smile from Kyle twists her stomach with guilt. Every word of affection from Victoria feels like a betrayal. She walks through her days with a mask firmly in place, pretending to live the life she has always dreamed of, while inside she trembles at the knowledge that at any moment Cane could destroy her. His demands are subtle at first. Oh, this favor, stay quiet about this matter, distance yourself from this person, but the implications are clear. He owns her, and as long as she wants to protect her secret, she must play his game. What Cane underestimates is that secrets in Genoa City rarely remain in the shadows. The walls have ears, and fate has a cruel habit of pulling truth into the light at the most inconvenient moment. For Victoria, who has fought so long to balance her ruthless business instincts with her role as a mother, the truth comes not through confrontation, but through accident. One evening, passing by a half-open door, she overhears Cane speaking with chilling certainty, laying out the truth of Claire's false identity and his control over her. The words strike her like a physical blow. At first, disbelief claws at her. Surely Cane is bluffing. Surely her instincts have not betrayed her so profoundly. But the longer she listens, the more undeniable it becomes. The daughter she thought she had reclaimed may not be her daughter at all. Somewhere out there, her real child is suffering, while Claire luxuriates in stolen affection. Victoria's heart shatters in that instant, replaced almost immediately by rage. Rage at Cane for manipulating such a sacred truth. Rage at Claire for accepting love and privilege under false pretenses. Rage at herself for failing to see through the facade. The betrayal cuts on multiple levels. As a mother, as a Newman, as a woman who thought she had finally begun to heal her fractured family. And yet, even in her fury, she knows she must move carefully. If Cane truly knows where her daughter is, then every step must be measured. The stakes could not be higher. This is not just about Claire's deception, but about reclaiming what was stolen from her, the bond with her true child. The fallout from this revelation promises to be catastrophic. Kyle, who has pinned his entire future on Claire, will face the most brutal reckoning of all. His love for her, his loyalty, his willingness to stand by her against doubters, will feel like a cruel joke when he learns the truth. Will he still see the woman he loves, or only the fraud who deceived him? Will he fight to hold onto her, or will he abandon her to the consequences of her deception? For the Abbotts, this could be the final straw in their already tenuous ties to the Newman family, turning love into rivalry once more. And then there is Cane. For all his confidence in controlling the narrative, he may have miscalculated. By speaking so boldly, he has revealed too much. And now Victoria holds the knowledge that can turn his scheme back on him. His arrogance blinds him to the fury of a Newman mother protecting what is hers. And when Victoria decides to strike, Cane may discover that the leverage he thought he held has slipped through his fingers. For Claire, the reckoning has arrived. No amount of pretending, no amount of love, no amount of excuses will protect her now. The truth, once overheard, will spread like wildfire, and when it does, the life she built with Kyle, the fragile acceptance she fought for with Victoria, and the respect she carved out in Genoa City will all hang in the balance. The question is no longer if her secret will destroy her, but how and whether there is any path to redemption once the ashes settle.